Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode number 37 of Boutique Talk. My name is Jake Boston, otherwise known as Steelbook Obsessed on all your major social media platforms. And if you want to listen to all things physical media related, then you've come to the right place. Every week, I have on a new guest to talk about their physical media journey. And tonight, my guest loves all things 80s, so it makes a lot of sense why he chose today's movie. It's Cody from Dude Who Loves Movies. How's it going, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I am excited that you picked Cobra. This movie has been sitting on my shelf for 3 to 4 years. I can't really remember when it came out, but I've wanted to watch it for the longest time, and you gave me that opportunity. And I see the Stallone poster in your background.
Yeah, I'm a big Stallone fan. It's actually signed by Michael Rooker too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, I'm a big Stallone fan. I always have been. I grew up I loved Stallone and Schwarzenegger, but I was always a Schwarzenegger guy.
Yeah.
And then I went to film school, and we learned all about random things, things that usually you go to film school and they teach you about Gone with the Wind and stuff like this. My first day, my teacher was like, "We're going to show you one of the greatest openings to a movie ever," and it was the opening of Blade. And then after that, it was just Stallone this, and then it was all kinds of different cool stuff. So I kind of went to a misfit school of filmmaking, and I learned all about Stallone, and I really had a lot of respect for him after that.
Yeah, my film theory class was about Hitchcock. I think I might have.
Yeah,
I think Stallone would have been a fun one to do. There's a lot of homework to do. I mean,
yeah,
it was educational. That sounds like a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, yeah. There's never a dull moment. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for hopping on. The way I like to introduce you is to kind of see your background in collecting. When you started collecting anything, have you always had the collecting bug in you?
So yes, but I didn't really think it was collecting. When I was a little kid, I'd get action figures for movies and stuff like that, and I'd want all the action figures. Same with and then I moved on to wrestling figures. I goes, oh, I need the whole roster, this and that. And I always, for Christmas and birthdays and stuff, I'd always ask for VHSs. And I didn't know I was building a collection. I was just wanting the movies I got. That's why sometimes I don't I have a movie collection, but I don't really call it a collection because it's just things that I like,
Sure.
These are just movies I have to like,
Right. I don't know your age range. I'm in my mid 30s, so
same here. Yeah.
The main thing that got the collection bug in me was Pokemon cards, and I knew I was collecting because the main thing was you got to catch them all type stuff. So that's been ingrained in me since I was 6, 7, and it's just never left.
Yeah. So I for some reason, I never got into Pokemon. My friends did, but I just didn't. I don't know if it was just another thing that my family couldn't afford or something. They're like, oh, great. He's already, he always has action figures and stuff like that. So I was, I was fine with that. But yeah, I never got into Pokemon, but I feel like I was kind of the only person who didn't get into it.
Sure. Nothing wrong with that either. Have you always been super big into movies? I know you said you were like VHS as a kid.
Yeah. So when I was really, really little, this has got to be early 90s. My grandma owned a grocery store in Michigan.
Awesome.
And in this grocery store, so people who weren't around in the or in the early 90s or whatever, grocery stores had rental store, had VHS rentals. Yeah, actually, any place could have a rental. You could go to a restaurant, and I'm sure there'd be a rental little spot over there. But so she had a movie rental section, and I would look at the Child's Play 2 VHS all day, every day. It just terrified me, but yet it was a good terrify. And then my mom finally let me rent it, and I was, like I said, I had to be 3 or 4, and I loved it. It terrified me, and I loved it. And I would always rent movies, basically while they were running the store, I was watching movies somewhere. So
yeah, the main cover I remember.
My babysitter.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There were a couple grocery stores that had the rental places inside of it. And the one that we went to, not a lot, but maybe once a month when we rented movies, there was always the cover of Maximum Overdrive with just like the person getting squashed by the semi with the who made who. And it's just like, that haunted me as a kid. And that was the first horror movie I ever watched too, because I just had to know, like, what is this about?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy because my grandma hated me watching horror movies, but my mom let me. So it's like when I was and for some reason my grandma would always let me watch Jaws. Jaws was okay. So I'd always ask to look at the Jaws VHS because I knew it was in the horror section. So I'd go look at Jaws, but I'd be looking at everything else.
Yeah. Well, Jaws is PG. It's like a nice little welcome mat into the horror genre for sure, man.
Yeah.
So since your grandma owned a grocery store that had movies, did she have a lot of like back end that you would kind of get for free or stuff, or how did that go?
No, it's funny because you would think so. Like, obviously I was so young, I didn't even ask, but no, like she kind of, she kind of sold her half to her husband at the time. And then we moved out to where I'm at now. So going from like the Midwest to the South, or not to the South, to where I'm at now, we went to the East to the West. That's where but I think that all kind of stayed there. So, but now I'm like, man, I wish I could have got all those things. But like a lot of my starting off was like we would record them off of either HBO or my uncle would have like the double. He have two VCRs. So like he'd record one off another. So like and then he'd let me borrow a tape with like I remember one tape was City Slickers, Warlock, and Terminator 2. So I watched that all the time, just over and over again.
At my house growing up, we lived in the middle of nowhere, but we had a satellite dish when, like, in the early 90s. It was one of those huge ones that you could like skateboard off of, like the ramp looking thing. Just
like in Stay Tuned.
Exactly like that. Yes. So we got a whole bunch of the weird like everything was fuzzy. Certain premium things you could get, you just couldn't watch in the best quality possible. So I remember watching a ton of movies that way. But there was also, back in the day, there was those free weekends to where like, oh, you get HBO for a weekend. And that's when I taped stuff like crazy. Didn't matter what it was. I just wanted to have new things to watch as a kid.
Yeah, man, free preview weekend was my favorite because when I was really young, we had the movie channels, and then once I got older, it was just too expensive, so we didn't have them. So when they came to free movie weekend, and I remember, do you know who a comedian is by the name of Sinbad? He used to host those. They used to have a host, like he'd be by the pool. It was like an event. And I miss those days. And I remember watching so much cool stuff like Varsity Blues and the Rage Carrie 2. I became a huge fan of Rage Carrie 2 because of the free preview weekend.
Nice.
And
I remember recording Rookie of the Year, and there was a storm coming around, and there was like 90 seconds of that movie where I had no idea what was going on because it was trying to find the reception for a while. So it wasn't until I was like in college where I'm like, I'm gonna watch Rookie of the Year and I'm gonna see exactly what happened during this scene. It was a nothing scene. It was just like when Bumgardner was just like dreaming about something. So, nothing too crazy that I missed in my childhood, but that was a huge mystery to me forever.
That's funny, man. I remember seeing that in theaters. Rookie of the Year.
Oh man,
I
didn't go to the theaters a lot as a kid. I wish I did. I can probably count a handful of times I went before I actually had my driver's license and went all the time.
I would.
Small Soldiers was like the biggest one.
Yes,
I loved that movie.
Man, I didn't see that in theaters, but I remember my grandma renting it for me like the first day it came out. Because like our thing we'd rent movies, so we didn't go to the movie theaters that often.
Yeah.
But we would go for like my birthday and stuff. So my grandma would take me to like the theater at the mall on my birthday or around my birthday, and we'd see like the new Batman movie or Independence Day or the Will Smith movie or new Jim Carrey movie or whatnot. And then afterwards we would go to KB's and get the toys from the movie I just watched. So it was like this cool memory that I always think about, especially around my birthday. I'm just like, that's why I have a soft spot for like Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. I know a lot of people don't like those movies, but I absolutely love them because I have that sentimental value. It has that sentimental value to it.
I love Batman and Robin just because like we watched it during a sleepover at school to where like we stayed till like 10 o'clock and we watched the movie in this basement of an elementary school that was built in 1919. So the basement was just dungeon-esque. Like it had a stink to it, kind of old.
Yeah.
And they carted one of those giant tube TVs down. We watched, and I love that movie to this day just because there's a great memory with it.
Man, that is awesome.
It was very, very cool.
That's so cool.
So you collected VHS back in the day. Have you always just kind of wanted to evolve the collection? And were you in like the DVD to Blu-ray to 4K now?
And it was one of those things where it's like I had the VHS and then DVD came out. I was like, man, I don't want to get DVD. And then I finally got DVD and I was like, all right, I'm not going to Blu-ray. And then I got into Blu-ray. And then I'm like, all right, this is the last format that I'm in 4K. So it's just, and I swear I can't say that, but I say that this is the last format. But
I think 4K will be the last format. I don't think there's going to be enough of a drive to get anything above what 4K is right now.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't have. I never got into laser. I've never seen a laser disc in my life. Like I've seen them out in the wild, but I've never seen it. Like I've never watched a laser disc.
Yeah. That was me up until like a little less than a year ago. I bought a lot off of somebody for $20, and then I was trying to find a player. Took 6 months to find a player, but I watched them a lot. They're about DVD quality. It's just the novelty factor of it all, man. It's very cool to just like pop in a vinyl size CD to put in. And I have one that like flips automatically. It's pretty cool.
So when you watch it, is it on a TV or is it on like a projector? I know that's probably a dumb question, but I don't know.
I have it hooked up to my OLED downstairs.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I wasn't sure how people were watching it back in the day. For some reason, I thought it was like on this projector. Same with like BetaMax. I've never watched a BetaMax or anything like that.
I haven't watched a BetaMax either. That's like the main format that I have never seen. Like that one and like the select division, like the CED discs. Those are wild because they come in like a plastic container, but it's a disc. Yeah. And you slide the whole plastic thing in to get the disc in and then slide the whole thing out. It's that format's bizarre to me.
Yeah. And then I remember my friend, like this was like the mid 2000s. He got into it was like a it was like a PlayStation, like a little hand PlayStation. You can put like small discs. Yeah, something like that. I remember he went crazy when that came out. He bought like The Crow and all kinds of different movies.
Yeah, I had a couple. I had like a Family Guy TV shows. Like I was big in that was like my teenage year. So I had the Adult Swim animation that came out on that.
Yeah, that's
but I've been wanting to recollect for that. I have no reason to whatsoever. But I just have like this nostalgic itch to like get some Viva La Bam episodes.
Yeah, Viva La Bam. Yeah.
We have quite a few people in the comments here. We got Mel, My Killer Podcast. How's it going? Past guest on the podcast. Holland Oats. Yeah. Whole bunch of highs and hays and all that stuff. Scottish Geek Guy. One of my favorite media studies lectures was a huge Buffy fan. Very cool. Do you remember what you talked about in your film theory class?
My film, what I talked about? So we had to do a thing for the hero's journey. And I did mine on Blank Man.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Out of all the people you could have chose, that's crazy.
Yeah, I did Blank Man just because I thought it was different, and it was a movie that I really loved that nobody was talking about. Everybody was doing Christian Bale Batman.
Sure.
I was like, I'm gonna do something different, and then we did one on villains as well, and I did mine on Scar.
Nice.
Yeah.
And was this during high school or
this was in college? Yeah.
College, gotcha. Yeah, that's when I did mine in college too. We didn't have. I'm so jealous of the people that had like a film study class in high school because that was like not a thing for us at all. I was lucky when I found a friend that liked movies as much as me, and we just geeked out at each other.
Yeah,
that was the
man. It's just like me and my friends. We grew up loving this stuff, and then we like Friday, like dude. I remember like because I played football in high school. I remember after the games. Sometimes we would have like a whole row at the theater filled with people to go see like the new Resident Evil movie or Saturday or Friday Night Lights, like something like it was weird. That would never happen today. You never get a whole group, they'd be off at a party and stuff. I don't know. I guess it just kind of like randomly found the right people.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah. But yeah, same with like in high school, it just wasn't around for me.
Sure. Happy Optimist always pops in every episode. He asks my guests what their 4 favorite movies are, kind of like a letterbox deal.
Yeah, so that's not in any order, but nope. I like Child's Play 2, Terminator 2, Batman 89, and then maybe let's do Lion King.
Gotcha. That's a very solid 4. I used to be a big Terminator 2 guy until I rewatched the first Terminator recently, and that movie slaps so hard, man. That is kind of like this one. That is a slasher film, but in the sci-fi genre. I love the first Terminator.
Yeah, and it both has the villain in it. The villain from Cobra is in Terminator. He's like one of the guys in the beginning. Yeah, but yeah, dude, that first Terminator, it gets better the more you watch it.
I 1000% agree.
And I also think it's because you don't watch it as much as you do the second one. Because in your mind, you're like, "Oh, this is awesome." So you watch the second one, but you don't really watch the first one. And then when you do watch the first one, you're like, "This is where it's at."
The second one is what got me into action movies when I was like 7, 8 years old. Because I fell in love with John Connor. I'm like, he's me. I want this to happen to me. Like he is.
Yeah, and I remember when my grandma had her store. I remember renting Problem Child 2 and Terminator 2, and it was just the best. That was my double feature for the weekend.
Yeah, it was an absolute blast. Those were the days, man.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
John Doe Juggalo, how's it going?
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, let's see here. Free preview weekends with VHS tape and SLP. I'm getting no wrestling. Yeah, I went crazy with the free weekends, man.
Oh yeah, same here. And little did I know I would fill up those 8-hour tapes. So of course I didn't know about quality. I'm just like, let's get the worst quality on here. I didn't know. I just wanted as much stuff. I used to record like episodes of TV shows like The Simpsons. I have music videos from like TRL. It's the stuff I have. I should convert it and see what I got on there.
I used a single tape and recorded every episode of Raw for like 2 years. And that tape looked terrible at the very end because it just like kept on getting
reused. Yeah.
Oh man, that was fun. Tiana likes the poster behind me, the Cliffhanger one. It is a very cool one. Cool looking.
It's a rare one sheet from when it came out. For some reason, I guess this is the one sheet that was supposed to be the cover, and then they changed it before the movie came out.
Yeah, I mean the poster they have now that they came out with is so iconic with him and
hanging there. Yeah,
it kind of makes sense, but
but this is super cool. I think this was more 80s, and I think they wanted to go more 90s.
Sure,
so that's why they switched it up. Yeah. But even when I had Michael Rooker. His last name Michael Rooker, right? Michael Rooker signed it. Even him and his handlers were like, "Wow, we haven't seen this poster in forever." So it was a good thing because when I bought it, I was like, "Man, I hope," because it came with like a certificate and everything when I bought it a while ago. And then when I pulled it out, they made me feel better. I was like, "Okay, cool. It's not like a fake or whatnot." So yeah, they're like, "Man, I haven't seen this in a long time."
I haven't been in the big like autograph game, but if I'm going to a convention here in a couple months, and I want to get stuff that is going to wow them to be like, I've never signed anything like this, and I feel like I'm thinking too hard on that type of stuff.
It's hard because they see a lot of things and a lot of people, man. So I met Patrick Warburton. A couple of years ago. Yeah, Warburton. And I had him sign a Scream mask because he's in Scream 3. Everyone's there to have him sign Family Guy or Putty stuff from Seinfeld. And I had a Scream mask. I had him, first of all, his handlers didn't even know he was in it. And then when I gave it to him, he said I was the first person who's had him sign one. I was like, that's cool. That's great. I think he was very new to the scene too.
Oh, okay.
But still, I was like, nobody here has had you have no one had you sign a Scream mask, but
so that's a horror person would have gotten to him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
because he's not in a lot of horror stuff. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't think he is in it much horror. Like this was at like a Comic-Con, so people like when you looked at his desk, like I almost wanted to get something from like the Tick signed from him too. Yeah, but I was like, I know I want Scream is one of my favorite movies as well, so I had that signed.
Sure. Here's a question I haven't thought of personally. I don't know if you have either. A Mount Rushmore of professional wrestlers. Are you big into wrestling, Cody?
I'm a huge wrestling fan. I used to be a wrestler. Yeah.
I feel like I'm a closet wrestling fan. I don't talk about it at all in my life. And I used to watch it a lot more. Like I watch every pay-per-view now, but I try I catch like recaps of Raws and SmackDowns.
Yeah, man, it sucks. I got out of it when the pandemic happened, and I just could not watch it without a audience, and then it went to having the wrestlers in the audience, and I was like, okay, I just can't.
The
do
Thunderdome was crazy with all.
With the screens. That was cool, but by then I was just like, man.
Sure. I get it. Do you have like a top 1-2 wrestlers or top 1? Let's just do top 1. Top 4 is very hard for me.
Okay, so I'll do my top 2.
Okay.
So, Macho Man and Sting.
Okay. Macho Man is my number 1 as well, and I would probably say number 2 is I don't even know. There's so many to think of right now. Probably Shawn Michaels, Triple H, one of those two.
Yeah, they're good, man. I really like them a lot. I was a huge WCW fan, so like if I were to go on, it'd be like Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and then DDP. Like those would be that would be my 4. But I know that like Shawn Michaels is one of the greatest, and to me, who do I think is the greatest wrestler ever is Ric Flair.
Sure,
I think he's the greatest to ever lace up those boots.
He's done a lot. He should keep his boots hung up now. Like that last match,
not
good.
I did not see it, but I can only imagine.
Don't. Just don't.
The last match I went to was actually Sting winning the tag team titles with Darby Allin. At AEW. So that was like a month before he retired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was just like hanging by Sting's side. Like that's you can see Ric Flair right now.
Yeah. For
sure. Hard Copy Blues, he's going to be my guest next week. Looking forward to some Cobra talk this week, though. So very good. You guys know seen it before either. So that should be a very fun discussion.
For some reason, I feel like he's never seen Cobra?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. For some reason, I thought he would have seen Cobra.
I feel like Cobra is one of those forgotten movies just because it never got sequelized, like a lot of the Sylvester Stallone stuff.
Exactly, and when you tell, because so I'm a huge Stallone fan. He's my favorite actor. Yeah. I mean, he's my favorite actor to watch. I shouldn't say he's my favorite actor because a lot, people will say his acting is questionable, but this is my favorite movie of his is Cobra.
I cannot wait to get into this.
Yeah.
Gundo Juggalo loved Laserdisc, and he also has a UMD player. Very, very cool. Finally going to watch this movie, Cobra. Okay, I feel like that's a lot of people here. I feel like it's like one of those movies that people have and they haven't given a fair shake to. So, yeah, okay. Let's go back into like the collecting side of things. You've collected for a lot of different formats. When did you start realizing what a boutique label was?
So it had to be. So my first like Scream Factory thing I got was the Halloween box set, like the big box set of all the Halloween movies.
Oh yeah.
And I just got it for Christmas one year, or I asked for it for Christmas, or somebody was like, okay, and then they got it for me, but I didn't know that it was like a part of this big this big label, the boutique label. I didn't know. If we would ask me, boutique label, I would have no idea what you were talking about. So I got that, and then they released Child's Play on like the first time they got Child's Play on Blu-ray through Scream Factory. I got that. I got like the bundle they got. And then I started noticing the Scream Factory on there.
Yeah. And
then I was, okay. And then when I was searching for horror movies, I kept noticing a lot of them were coming from the Scream Factory. So I like in 2020, just sort of loading up on Scream Factories. So, I'm kind of newer to the boutique labels because I just didn't know that there was all these out there. I just like, all right.
Got to start at some time. My favorite movie of all time is The Thing, and I didn't watch it until I was like 27, 28, sometime around then. As soon as I watched it, I looked because I didn't own it. Like another friend brought it over. I'm like, what the heck is this movie? It just blew my mind wide open. I wanted to put it in my collection, and I bought a steelbook for it. Steelbook looks fantastic, and it's it was Scream Factory. Like I just went down a John Carpenter kick. I didn't realize I had like 4 different Scream Factory steelbooks until like I saw the spines and the artwork kind of looked similar on the steelbooks. I'm like, the same company made all of these. And then that was like the main boutique label that I collected for a lot was Scream Factory. I just fell in love with them.
Yeah. Same here. Like they were my favorite. They were my favorite until like recently. Recently they've just kind of slowed down. And like now I'm like I kind of like Kino because Kino has like the random titles that I used to watch in the 90s. Like they have like
Right.
It's Pat. Nobody wants It's Pat but me, but like I feel like they come out with those movies that only I want.
Sure.
But of course, Scream Factory comes out with something and I get excited for. Like what am I excited for now that they're coming out with? So they did Orphan. So I'm a huge fan of Orphan. So I felt like I was the only one very excited for that. So I'm glad they did it.
My main thing with Scream Factory now is that because I collected so heavily in like 2018 2018, 2019, is that they're just re-releasing a lot of these in 4K.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of incentive for me to get them if it's just a new transfer. There's no like new special features. The majority of the time they put on there, no new artwork really. It's just like I don't know.
Yeah,
I already have these movies. I'm good.
Yeah, the majority of my Scream Factory is going to be Blu-ray. Like I haven't upgraded a lot of them. It may be some stuff that I missed or some stuff that I really liked. Yeah. Like Child's Play, they re-released Child's Play on 4K, so I got the Child's Plays on 4K.
Right. But, do you have a good 4K setup right now?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm working on getting a better TV. I have a 55-inch, and I want to go at least 73, but it's about getting the room and stuff. My friend has he's like a projector screen that's like 120 inches, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. But I don't have like where I have my TV. It's like in a corner, so it wouldn't be big enough for it. But I do want to get a better setup, and I've actually been looking into OLEDs. I've heard they're really good.
I was gonna say if you get an OLED, I think even if you stay the same size to fit in the corner, it'll that's what really clicked for me, because I was collecting 4K just like, okay, yeah, I'll get something now or later. 3 years ago, I got my first OLED, and whoa, just the amount of clarity on these suckers. I always thought Blu-ray was going to be good enough, and then I saw what 4K could do if you have everything that you're able to get, and I'll get a Blu-ray. Blu-rays are still fine, but if that copy is on 4K, I will grab that if it's not like it for sure.
Yeah, are you somebody who doesn't think everything needs a 4K, or would you like everything to have a 4K?
I'm not picky. Put anything on 4K, man.
I say here, like people like, hey, comedies don't need 4Ks, but I was like, man, you put Dumb and Dumber on 4K, that's coming home with me.
Give me The Mask on 4K. I will scream like a little boy. I will be a happy man.
It's so funny because the poster behind me was The Mask until about 20 minutes before we started, and I switched it out with the Stallone.
Back when my family got our first DVD player, it came with like a stack of 5 movies with it. And The Mask was one of those movies.
Really?
So I've seen The Mask hundreds of times. Like that's just a movie that is comfort food to me at this point.
Same here, man. I saw that in theaters. I was really little, and I saw that they're having a 30th anniversary showing next Tuesday. And I'm gonna try everything to get there because it's just that movie's so nostalgic to me.
Is that coming back to theaters or just around your area?
Might be just around my area. I have like theaters that show like cult classics on like a Tuesday, so it might be in your area, but I think it's just kind of they're doing.
Sure. I would love if Kino came out with The Mask. Like I feel like Kino is the one that would put out a 4K of that movie. I don't know who else it would fall under.
Yeah, I don't know. It's New Line Cinema, which is Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So they're probably gonna do it themselves. But Kino would do a good job. Kino's been doing a lot of those 90s comedies that really fits into my heart. Yeah. So I can definitely see them doing it.
I'm lucky to have a partnership with them, so I get sent a lot of random stuff, and their 4Ks look very, very solid, but their titles that they put out all over the board on 4K. It's just I watched InNOut last weekend.
Yeah.
This deserved a 4K, really? But,
man,
it looks great.
I haven't seen InNOut since VHS. I remember my grandma renting that, and I haven't seen it
aged the best.
Yeah,
I'll say that. Yeah, the subject matter is just like, there's no way we could make a movie like this today.
Man, neither. I was talking about It's Pat earlier. That has not hit. That I mean, when it came out, it wasn't aging well.
Right. Well, we talked a little bit about Scream Factory. I kind of want to go a little bit deeper in there. You say that's your favorite boutique label, at least it was. Is there a certain reason why you fell in love with it in the first place?
Well, it's because they had everything. And like the one thing I really loved about them was their special features. Like they had the best special features, really cool artwork. I love the I'm a big documentary person, especially when it comes to like movies and making movies, especially being I wanted to be a filmmaker, so watching other people make movies was just like, wow, this is crazy. This is awesome. I really like it. And it sucks that they've kind of gone away from that.
Yeah, it's a bummer on this disc specifically because there's just a whole bunch of interviews, and that nothing bums me out more than to just see one person sitting in a room isolated talking about what happened. I'd rather have something nicely edited together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a couple people in the industry on here before, and they said like the reason why they don't do that is because these boutique labels like to have like pinpoints on the back of their cover, so it looks like there's more special features there.
Yeah, I've also heard too that like the Screen Actors Guild and stuff like that, they kind of after the interview is too long for something, then they're like, okay, well, you need to give credit to this, and then you need to get rights for this, and that. So that's why they don't do like the full length anymore, because it's another movie. So you gotta, I guess I understand, but I don't want to understand.
I just I got Furiosa that came out yesterday on 4K. Great making of documentary in there. Like it's not said anywhere on the packaging. It breaks down segments of what the documentary is, but it's a little less than an hour, and it's fun. The best making of I've seen in quite some time out of like a new release.
Dang, that's cool. Yeah, especially for a new. I haven't seen the movie. I love the other Mad Max movies, but I haven't seen that one. Was it good? The movie good?
I rank it as my favorite Mad Max film. Like it
really
so much lore. I was never like super crazily high on Fury Road. I liked the movie. I just never thought it was like one of the best action movies of all time type status. It's fine, but I'm a big story guy. And Furiosa adds to the lore of the Wasteland so well that's my bread and butter there. And like character structure, it's great. I love that movie.
Yeah. So I know you're a big story guy, so you're probably a big fan of the Expendables. But but like so the Expendables, the first one, if you get like the director's cut, it has a documentary on it. It's like 3 hours long. Wow. And it's Stallone. You follow him, write it, direct it, and then edit it.
Nice.
It's my favorite documentary ever. It's so good.
Rob Zombie does a lot of those too. I don't know if you've seen his, but they are very
I have. Well, it's funny because I'm not a big fan of his movies, but I buy his movies for the documentaries on there.
I feel you there. Yeah. I think I've talked about this before. Last one I'll talk about, but if you've seen 12 Monkeys, the Arrow Video version of that has the best making of documentary I've seen.
Really? Okay.
It's because it breaks down so many aspects of the process of getting a film made to advertising it, the whole to editing it, the whole 9 yards. It's great stuff.
I don't know if you watch Pizzow or not, but he I got a lot of recommendations from him by watching his stuff, because he'd review the movie and then he'd go like point by point on all the special features, and he'd talk about if this had a documentary, how long it was, and then I'd buy it. All right.
I haven't done a lot of review videos, but since I get them, I'm feeling more of the need to showcase off whenever I have time. And I did that for Furiosa. So I'm a big special features dude. Like that's one of the main reasons why I collect this stuff.
Same here. I love special features. And that's why it's like, I have a big DVD collection that I haven't got rid of because dude, sometimes they'll come out with a 4K and they have no special features, but then I have a 3-disc DVD and it's all special features. So it's like, well, I'm not, there's all this cool stuff I'm not going to get rid of.
Yep. I like back in the day, they used to put a lot of development money into those special features. And sometimes you get those archived over to future releases, and sometimes they just get lost to time. And that's the biggest shame ever, because it doesn't cost you anything just to kind of put it on a new disc.
Yeah. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people who just don't watch special features, I guess,
Yeah. I've never gotten to commentaries. I don't know about you. That's one thing.
I've never watched commentary either.
Yeah, when I watch the movie, I want to see the movie. I don't want to see people talk about the movie.
Well, and it's funny because I'm like, okay, so I've seen this movie 100 times, so I'll watch the commentary, see what it's like. I just never have. I'm sure I'd enjoy it. I just I don't. Like Child's Play, I remember I put it in a little bit to watch it. It was like a feature where you could watch Chucky commentate. So I was like, that was pretty fun, but he just did like, a scene or two, but that was probably as much as I've watched.
Doing this podcast, I like to do like research on the movies that I'm doing, like once I've actually seen them. And there's a podcaster that specifically only puts out episodes of audio commentaries. So when I'm on my drive, I'll listen to it, but especially like when I don't have the movie next to me because they're talking about it and I just saw the movie, so I'm still able to follow it. But I that's the way I like to listen to stuff when I'm driving and I have nothing else to do.
I've heard that when what's his name? John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, I guess they do really good commentaries together.
Nice. I mean, I need to listen to their thoughts on the thing. John Carpenter was on like the commentary of Rio Bravo randomly. Really? And that's like the main thing that I'm like, okay, I feel like I need to listen to this.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, very cool, man. I think we're ready to talk some Cobra, don't you think?
I am ready, yeah.
Okay, let me pull up a trailer. I like to get everybody in the mood for the movie. So let's play this 30-second TV trailer here.
His name is Cabretti. He's a cop. He believes that victims have rights and that crime's a disease. He's the cure. They call him Cobra, the strong arm of the law. Stallone is Cobra. Rated R.
Opens this week at a theater near...
That's the best part to me, just like hearing that last like couple seconds.
Oh yeah, I love watching old stuff, and they're like starting Friday, you know. Yeah. So
I watched one of the trailers, and I guess this came out Memorial Day weekend in '86, which I was not aware of. Yeah, that was like their big release.
Oh wow, yeah. I know it was like, you know, not a big blockbuster that Stallone's used to, but I think it made a decent amount of money, like 42,000, which was a lot.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, 42 million.
Yeah,
not thousand.
The movie in 1986 cost $25 million to make, which for an action movie was huge.
Yeah,
I think overseas and US it made like 140 million. It cleaned up overseas.
Okay,
but there was still no sequel, which I find bizarre because I feel like the main reason why Stallone made this movie is to sequelize another franchise for him to star in.
Well, and it's funny because Stallone once in a while will mention that he wants to do a Cobra 2.
I bet.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want nowadays Stallone to do a Cobra 2.
I don't know, man. He's great in Tulsa King, so.
Yes, that's a very solid show.
Yeah, but he's playing his age in that, so. But like when it comes to like a movie like this, it's a movie that I feel like is getting a lot more love now.
Okay.
Like a lot more people are really coming around to it. They're like, oh, okay, because everybody's seen Rocky, everybody's seen Rambo. So I think, and Demolition Man, but I think people are like, you want to see something different? Watch Cobra, you know? And they're like, oh, okay. So like it has like this small cult, like, you know, like me and like whoever likes Cobra are like the people hitting the axes in the movie, you know? That's us.
That like one thing about this movie is that it's all over the place, man. I feel like it doesn't know what lane it wants to stay in, and I found that very entertaining to be like, what the hell does this mean? Does this have any meaning whatsoever?
Well, do you watch any of the special features? I
watched a couple of the interviews and I got bored, so I didn't watch all of them.
Oh, okay. The guy who plays the bad guy, he like, you know, did you watch that one where he was like, we wanted to talk to Stallone about his character, and he just gave him like a 3-line answer.
You're bad.
Yeah.
That's all he said is like, yeah, you're bad, be evil. Just like, okay. He had nothing to go off of. And I feel like the making behind the scenes of this movie is just as fascinating as the movie itself. I don't know if you want to go a little bit into that, but when we were chatting a little bit before, you said that this movie is based off of Stallone's time from Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, so he was supposed to. Stallone was starring in Beverly Hills Cop, and he, you know, he just kept like I think the budget kept ballooning, and you know it wasn't, you know, Beverly Hills Cop wasn't Beverly Hills Cop yet, so they finally was like, hey man, why don't you work on this other movie? And he took his version of the script of Beverly Hills Cop and put it into Cobra. Right. And that's why if you watch Beverly Hills Cop 3, there's a Cobra poster in the back. And even in the new Beverly Hills Cop movie, there's a Stallone reference in there.
It's also why in Beverly Hills Cop 2, Brigitte Nielsen is in it.
Oh, yes.
Because they did not end things on bad terms. So as like a thank you for that, Paramount said, yeah, we want Brigitte in this role. So
yeah, I think,
very cool Hollywood in routes, you know?
Yeah, and I think it was one of those things where they're like, I think Stallone would be happier over in this house, and he went over there and started doing Cobra, and then we ended up getting, Beverly Hills as we know it, because like even Judge Reinhold, Stallone was he was cast with Judge Reinhold, like he interviewed Judge Reinhold and everything, and they got together, and then once Stallone left, Judge Reinhold was like, shit. Like, here goes my movie. I was going to be in this like big blockbuster movie, and then they got Eddie Murphy, and it changed from there. Obviously, it wasn't going to be a comedy when Stallone had it, or if it was, Stallone kept taking the comedy out and making it more action.
Well, we're diving in deep right now. You said earlier that this was your favorite Stallone film. I'm just a noob with Cobra. Why this movie in particular? Why is this one your favorite Stallone performance?
Man, I don't know about his performance. I just I love the it's an action movie with like a hint of slasher in it, and it's one of those things where I just love his attitude in the movie. Like, I think that's like, I grew up with the 80s action stars and the 90s action stars. So I love the one-liners, the tough guy thing. Mm-hmm. So like when, I love, he has the match in his mouth. I like that. I love that like over the top action stuff where like they come in, shoot up the place, all the bad guys are dead, kind of. But I love like certain scenes in this movie, like the whole grocery store scene in the beginning. Yeah. Like one of my favorite scenes, and I'm also a big fan of product placement. I know that's weird.
Me too. Yeah.
And this has a lot of cool product placement.
That Pepsi sign, man. That's one of my notes on here. I'm like, I miss advertisement like this, marketing in store that was that freaking cool. Nowadays, people would take it, vandalize it, but just that Coke or the Pepsi dripping out of that can. And then it just gets shot up.
It gets blown up. Yeah, it gets shot up. Yeah, he's like drinking a Cooler's Light or something.
Yeah. There's so much product placement in this movie. It's kind of insane. But I love the opening of this film. It sets the tone quite early. And another thing that I had no idea I was walking into, this is a low-key Christmas movie?
It is, yeah. It is low-key Christmas movie. As the movie goes on, they kind of get further away from Christmas. But it's like that's the thing. Like the movie starts off like a slasher, and then it gets more action.
The third act doesn't even seem like it's from this movie. I'll be honest. It's all bright and slapsticky almost, with all the shooting from the car and guys just falling off their motorcycle, not looking like they're dying. Like it just from a totally the first and second act of this movie, I was all in for. It gave me a lot of original Terminator vibes. It was just dark. It reminded me of a lot of like an Italian giallo film almost, just because the way it was shot, it looked very, very nice. It did not really look like an action movie. It definitely had some slasher influence, like you were saying.
And I know that there's a really hard R version out there that Stallone really wants to put together.
And I'm hoping that he does, because for the 4Ks of the Rocky franchise, he put a director's cut for Rocky 4 and Rocky 6. And people didn't know those existed, and he put them together just for the home video release. So I don't know if that footage is available at all. Like you would think that this DVD that came out from Scream Factory came out in 2019. You would think that there would have been something extra included in this, and there wasn't. So I'm hoping that the footage just isn't lost to time, because I would like to see the original cut was over 2 hours long. This movie's 86 minutes long.
Yeah.
There's a lot they chopped out of this sucker.
Well, and what sucks when it comes to movies like Cobra, if they're going to cut something, it's the story, unfortunately. So they're like, hey, we don't want to cut this big explosion because that costs money. So they cut where like they don't, they think people just want to see the action, but it's like, it sucks that it takes away from the story. And then later on, people are like, well, this movie doesn't make sense, because like you said, the movie is all over the place. And it's because things are cut out.
Right. And from what I've heard, the only reason why they chopped it down is because they were trying to compete with Top Gun that recently came out before this film, and they chopped it down to less than 90 minutes so it would play more often in theaters, so more butts could get in those seats.
Yeah,
kind of sucks when that decision making happens like that.
That, and you have two directors. I mean, so Stallone like low key directed this movie, but there are obviously scenes with it where the other guy directed, and the other guy, from what I hear, was not very nice
The main director,
of a director.
George Cosmatos. He also directed Rambo: First Blood Part 2, and he also directed Tombstone, which I heard that Kurt Russell, right?
The what?
Tombstone? Kurt Russell's in Tombstone. I heard Kurt Russell low-key directed that film as well. Like this director seems like he's there, but he can be very persuaded very easily by the big stars.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, but I feel he's directed like all three of those movies that I listed are pretty big 80s, 90s movies. To just kind of be a pushover director, it seems a little odd.
Yeah. Which I'm kind of surprised they didn't just have Stallone direct it, since that's what he's good. He's a good director.
Agreed.
So.
Yeah. Well, man, I feel like, again, we talked, I jumped to a different subject. Shoot the beginning with the shootout in the supermarket. Whenever that stuff happens in film, I get so giddy. Because again, I like to see how products looked back in the day. I just like to see something that's never destroyed get totally messed up. It's the best. Like there are a guy just shooting things. He shoots a shopping cart. The shopping cart jumps,
explodes.
In the air. Yeah, just like this movie goes at 100 right from the get. I just liked the level of veracity this movie had.
And then it's even cool. Like there's that shot where Stallone's walking through the frozen section and the doors are open, but it's all the fog coming out. Yeah, that's cool. And then it's funny. He he just gets on the intercom to say a little some one-liners, and then he comes out of the freezer. It's like, well, how'd you get in that freezer? I doubt it's a two. Like there's another door the other way, but it looks cool. And then he shoots the guy, or no, he throws a knife at him, and the guy falls on the meat. So Stallone's there. He's definitely traumatizing some people, but he's saving people.
What do you think about Stallone's gun in this movie? I feel like a lot of time went into at least the poster, because the poster makes it look like it's a giant laser gun. I feel like that never comes into play really. Like there's a scope at one point, and that's really all I see of that scope.
Well, I think because when he's in the car scene or in the house, the house and the car, he's using that gun. But I think they really focus on his gun with the Cobra on it. That's in his in his front there. So I think they wanted that to be like an iconic. Like I think that what they want to do is how Rambo has an iconic knife. I think they wanted to do something iconic like that.
This movie wanted to be iconic so bad. It's so bad with the gun and the car and the random stick in his mouth, the matchstick. It's just like this movie desperately wanted to get some pop culture relevancy, and I don't think it ever got there.
No, I mean I think now it is. I tell you, man, there's a small not small, but people like Cobra. People love Cobra.
Like people are saying, it's the 80s movie you haven't seen that you need to see. Like ever since I've started doing more research, I'm like, you need to see this. If you haven't seen this, you'll love it. Like that type of thing. Yeah. I don't know if I'm at the love level of this movie. I enjoyed my time with it, but it's not a new cinematic treat for me for sure.
Yeah. Even in the first Deadpool, he mentions Cobra in the movie. Like when he's on the table and someone has something in their mouth. I think it's a match in his mouth, and I thought you had a Stallone fixation. It's real quick throwaway line, but people like me was in the audience being like, yeah, Cobra reference. Well,
man, what other things do you like about this movie? Why did you decide to pick this one for the podcast?
Just because I really haven't talked about it much.
Yeah.
And it's a movie that I wish more people would watch.
Sure.
Like Vin, I had no idea he's never seen this movie. I think he's going to like it. Again, the story is not all there. It's a movie. I recommend this movie, but it's a movie you have to know what you're going to watch. This is it's like his Commando kind of, I guess.
Definitely. I can definitely see that. I feel like this is a lot more weirder than Commando. I think Commando is a very straightforward action movie. This is trying to throw some random style. The very beginning with the Colts and the axes. I'm like, what is happening here? And that never really gets played out at all. It's just weird to be weird.
Yeah, and it's cool because if you watch that scene, there's normal people there. Like, there's a guy in like a suit and tie, doing it. So it makes it look like there's going to be these people planted everywhere, but we just don't see it in the movie.
We get
and I'm wondering, we get that one guy and then like the chick, but they look like bad guys. So like, I wonder if in the original one, like, I wonder if there's like, like the guy at McDonald's, he's part of this group that, this cult that wants to take care, and even in the special features, the guy's all like, why are we killing these people? There's no, we don't say why we're killing these people. There's nothing for a bigger cause. And he's like, I'll just, it's like, what if we had Polaroids? And he's like, I get him Polaroids. And then they never got him the Polaroids.
Yeah. I feel like the last half hour chunk, like if they added more of that element into this movie, I think it would have added more to it, obviously, just because the main person that came to my head of like this society infiltrating just everyday life was that the female cop, and that's like the only like double triple cross in this movie that I can think of.
So the original script, at the the guy, his name is Andy Robinson. He's in like he's in Child's Play 3. He's like the guy with the haircut, or the guy the barber. He's the villain in Dirty Harry. He's also in Hellraiser.
Okay.
Yeah, well, he was the cop that was in like he was the one who was giving Cobra a lot of crap. He was like, hey, you have to arrest these guys, this and that, and then at the end he punches him or whatever.
Yeah.
So in the original script, he was supposed to be the bad guy. He was supposed to be like running this whole organization of people.
I would have liked to see something like that. Yeah,
exactly. And I met him a month ago, and I told him I had him sign some Child's Play 3 stuff because I'm a huge Child's Play 3 fan. But I was talking to him about Cobra, and he's like, everybody who talks about Cobra, they did not have a good time on Cobra. Like, and that's what he said. He's like, I did not have a good time. He's like, get paid for my house, but I did not have a good time making Cobra. And I wonder, he didn't go into details, but I know that a lot of people didn't get along with Stallone on that set. And I know that a lot of the story was taken out. So I wonder if he signs on to be this big villain and stuff, and then it just gets cut down to a Poindexter role.
Right. The only thing that I could find about the behind the scenes of Cobra is that Stallone was very protective of Brigitte Nielsen, and to where like, don't talk to her, don't have side conversations, just leave her alone type thing, which is always just makes a workplace toxic. Doesn't matter what it is. Yeah,
and it's funny too because from what I hear, like especially one of the interviews with the main bad guy in this, he said that Stallone then and Stallone now are two totally different people. Like he said, he said that he ran into Stallone at like his daughter teaches the guy's daughter teaches horseback lessons, and Stallone was there with his daughter, and he's like, it was like talking to a whole different person.
That's cool.
Yeah, he was very nice, very like, oh,
maybe the ego got somewhere in there because this is like peak action. Stallone, because the year prior we had Rambo 4 and First Blood Part 2 come out, so he was on the top of the world for sure. He was able to get this movie made because of that. So maybe over time egos get checked a little bit.
Oh yeah, especially he had some downtime there for a while.
Right. We haven't really talked about the main villain enough, I don't think. That dude is a presence on film. Like, he doesn't say a lot of words until like the last chunk of the film. But he is just so, like, again, Terminator vibes, like this silent, deadly force that just moves through and kills anything in its way.
And his voice is great. I can't think of what his name is.
Best.
Yeah, Brian Thompson.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yeah, he was so good. And like, even when he's like at the end when he's calling him a pig, like all it flying, I was like, dude, that's so cool. But yeah, he's a scary dude in this movie.
Yeah. I like how, like, when he's like going deep undercover, he like gets his hair, he changes the color of his hair. Even that scene, just like him dyeing his hair black, looks so menacing the way it's shot and the way he does it. Yeah,
they're wearing glasses. Yeah, he looked like a totally different guy, but it was a really cool scene. I like that. See, stalking her in the hospital. A lot of stalker vibes in this movie, guys.
Yes, very much so. And what does not go with that is the soundtrack to this film. The soundtrack is all over the place, like 80s pop stuff, and it does not fit this movie that well to me. It just seems like Stallone with Rocky IV really liked the music video montagey stuff. There's a couple scenes in Cobra that kind of do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and so I'm a big fan of the soundtrack. I actually have the soundtrack somewhere around here, but that what is it? Angel of the City. I love that song, but that guy who did that song is somebody who did Hearts on Fire for Rocky. So I think Stallone brought him over to do some songs like that. But yeah, I love that song. But like you said, like even at the end when it starts playing a song, I was like, wait, is this something
out
like
of nowhere?
Yeah. Well, same with like, I don't know if have you ever seen The Specialist with Stallone and Sharon Stone?
I haven't, no.
Okay, well, the very end credits is like Gloria Estefan. It just comes out of nowhere, and you just kind of laugh. You're like, why are they playing Gloria Estefan? But
no, the soundtrack is great. It just does not fit this movie at all. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
And God, other things that kind of stood out to me in this movie is that, again, just Stallone with character quirks when he's in his house. And he's watching his little TV. I love the random Toys R Us ad that's playing. And then it jumps to like a special alert type thing.
Yeah.
And he's just there eating dinner. And he cuts his pizza in the weirdest way I've ever seen in my life. No one to this day has ever done this. It makes no sense to do it the way he does it. It just... Please talk about what he does, like how he actually eats this pizza. It's so weird.
Yeah, so Stallone, he takes out like the pizza from like either the day before. Anyways, it's cold pizza. He takes it out and he cuts it. He cuts the very tip of it with scissors, and then he starts eating the tip of it. It's just it's a weird way to eat pizza. I don't know if it's a way of saving carbs or whatnot for not eating but it's strange. Or maybe he just wanted to be different, you know.
Your pizza slice is a triangle, and the way that he cuts it's just a smaller triangle. It weirded me out almost. I'm like, what normal person does that? Cobra is no normal man, Cody.
Yeah, well, and do you notice like when he pulls up to his apartment, he gets out and he rips the dude's shirt off?
Yeah, and the mic falls off.
The mic is just hanging there.
And they left it in the movie.
It's funny because they cut it to where it's like, okay, they don't want us to see it, but then they show the guys, hey, blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, they do not care.
Stallone was very method actor-y, I guess. He was just in the moment, man, ripping that shirt off.
Rip that dude's shirt off, and the lav mic was right there.
God, this movie's all over the place. I tell you what did you think of Stallone's car in this?
So I'm not a big car person.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool, but I liked his motorcycle more.
I liked the motorcycle a lot more too. I feel like they really wanted you to love his car, and I never really loved that thing. It felt like more of like a slug than it did like a muscle car or anything. Like it looked very impractical for what he was trying to do.
Yeah, and that's why it's like I feel like his character as well. The motorcycle just fits it better.
Yeah, no, I 1,000% agree. Like when they drive off at the very end, this just should have been the thing in the first place.
Yeah,
the stunts with the car are cool.
Yeah, very cool stunts.
I just kind of wish it was a different car because when things happened to that car, I was never like he was just polishing off this sucker. This was like his pride and joy. License plate said "Awesome 50." Like he's a car guy. Cobra is a car guy. And I just could not get into it at all. I'm not really a car guy myself, but this definitely did not make me care about it at all.
Yeah, maybe it's just he just wanted, he's like, hey, maybe this will be this is before Batman, but maybe he wanted an iconic look or something, something that it's different for sure. That vehicle. But yeah, I feel like he definitely needed something a little better.
Right. I guess another random thing that is in this movie that I want to see more of. Talked a little bit more about the supermarket stuff. There's like, this lasts for maybe 90 seconds. It's a shootout in a field, which is not done too often at all. And it's just a cool setting to have something in because you don't see it like at all.
It's like a peach orchard or something.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. They're driving through it. Yeah, it's a cool scene. They definitely are jumping from different places with this truck. So maybe they're like, hey, if we have this truck, we can drive through this, we can drive through that.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely that. And like, you could tell they, like you said, they wanted to do something with the truck because he even mentions it at the end. He's like, hey, I want you guys to pay for my truck. The guy's like, oh, sorry, we can't afford it. But
Cobra in this movie is definitely like he's almost like a vigilante cop almost, because he'll do the things that aren't PC nowadays type thing. Just like having a reporter come up to you and be like, "Why'd you kill that guy? You didn't have to kill him." And Cobra, he what, punches the guy or holds the guy up and he's like, "This guy killed a lot of people. What do you mean he didn't deserve to die?"
His family. Yeah, he tells his family. Yeah. So what? Cobra, he's part of this team called the Zombie Squad, which is like the people who he explains that it's like where the law ends, he starts. Mm-hmm. So like when the law can't get it done, they send Stallone to do it. So there's this like group of people killing, like slaughtering people, and nobody can catch this guy, so they get Stallone on it.
Colin the Cobra.
Yeah, man. And if you think about like, there's like a scene, where they first introduce, or when Bridget Nielsen is being attacked by this group, dude, they're killing anybody and everyone. And they're like, there's a cop that gets hit by a car, and then like, the guy's walking with like his Christmas present, about to go home, he gets slashed up in the throat. It's like, dang, they were killing everybody.
Right. God, the introduction of Brigitte Nielsen in this is again out of nowhere, like the montage cut of like
with the robot too. Yeah,
the robots and the photo shoot. It is so bizarre, man.
But I'm a sucker for 80s montages, and that song Angel of the City is playing over it, so it's like really cool. He's like cleaning his gun or getting ready, or no, he's going around town trying to find out who these people are. But yeah, it's a cool montage scene for sure.
The robots were like, you don't see Brigitte Nielsen for a good 30-45 seconds into the start of this. It just kept on showing robot faces. What is going, again, with the axes and then the robot? I'm like, what is happening right now? Just maybe more confused than anything. The final scene. I feel like we need to talk about the final scene with just. I loved where that took place, and like Terminator 2 again, just like a very industrial warehouse with like lava pouring, fire everywhere,
chains everywhere,
stuff. Yeah.
Well, and it's cool too because like he lights a guy on fire and then he hangs some dude on some. Fire takes like fire and heat as a big spot in this, and it's cool to actually see him use his match that he has, and you're just like.
The magical MacGuffin match, like that can't be the reason why he's carrying this in his mouth, but it is. Like he could have just had a lighter and done the same thing, but no, it's the match that he had the entire movie. The laser gun, I feel like the only reason why there was a laser there is to kind of like point it at people and be like, "Yeah, don't move, I got you, dead right." But also to like point it at a grenade, which this guy shows off grenades a lot in this movie. I'm like, do you really need grenades? But like, he doesn't throw the grenade to make it explode. He shoots the grenade to make it explode.
Yeah. He like
trapping grenades.
Yeah, he like sets it up and then later on he shoots it, which is cool.
But the final death of this movie is very memorable, and like the cry from that bad guy sounds like a newborn child. Like it is bizarre. Like that's probably one of the images that'll stick with me from this movie.
Yeah, I love that whole third act in that like steel mill or wherever it was. I love the fight. I love the fire. I love, just the guy, like the close up of the guy, like you pig. And he's like, you can't kill me because you're a cop. You have to arrest me. And then he even tells him, he's all like, the police are going to let me go. I'm going to tell them I'm insane and this and that. Right. And Stallone's like, no,
Yeah, he had quite the dialogue written for him. That monotribe, just his voice, because he didn't really speak a lot in the movie before this. So hearing him, he sounded like he was possessed by a demon or something. Like his voice is just so like deep and menacing. I loved it. Yeah, creepy, dude.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah,
it's just like a movie I saw at the right time where I'm like,
yeah.
So I was probably eating pizza with my friends, and we're just like, hell yeah, this is awesome,
I can if I grew up with this movie, I feel like I would have loved this movie
for sure.
And like this is one that I'm definitely gonna keep. Like normally, I rate every movie that I see on Letterboxd, and anything that's a 2.5 or below, I get rid of. This is probably like a solid good territory. I'd give us like a 3.5, somewhere around there. It's a lot of fun. But it will probably be more fun with a couple of drinks in you.
Yeah, and it's a movie that I think will also grow on you as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I can see that. And honestly, I feel like a 4K transfer of this movie would make this movie shine. Like, there's a lot of dark moments, like we were talking about.
Mhm.
The 4K Ultra HD aspects of that would look
Mhm.
phenomenal.
Well, even like the scenes in the daytime would look great too, where the in that fire, the fire would look good.
Mm-hmm.
The Pepsi would look good. The
Pepsi would look great. Pepsi looks great in the 2K transfer here. I couldn't
2K,
imagine. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I know that there is a 4K of this coming soon. I know it's coming.
I hope so.
It sucks because like this came with a cool slipcover, but I did not buy this right away because I have the previous Blu-ray release of it as well.
Sure.
But this has some cool special features on it, so I finally did buy it, but it did not come with a slipcover.
I know normally I like to go through all the special features on here. I did not have a lot of time, but I did watch the first 2 interviews, and I feel like I got enough from that. There's like 5 interviews on this sucker, and again, like I'm not the biggest just watching an interview guy. I'd rather have like something well edited to I don't know, to keep my attention, I guess.
Yeah, and there is a cool a cool behind the scenes featurette of them making the movie.
Yeah,
so,
from like back when the DVD came out.
Yeah.
Archival and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's really all I had on this movie, Cody. Are there any closing thoughts that you have for the movie?
No, I just want people to, give it a shot. Don't go into it expecting, a masterpiece or anything. It's just a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
If you like Stallone movies, or if you like those action movies where things are just being blown up, then I think this is a fun ride for you.
Yeah. It's definitely an enjoyable time. The VHS, very nice.
Yeah, got the VHS.
I do have the link to the Amazon link to this Scream Factory edition in the comments if you guys are interested in picking that up. But
yeah, a lot of cool special features, or the interviews, but there's some cool stuff on here for sure.
I always play the movie when I'm talking about the movie. We just got to like all the guys falling off the motorcycles. Like, very, very slapsticky, very Blues Brothers almost. Like the amount of just crashes right there. But yeah, Cody, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I had a good time talking with you.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate talking to Stallone. So
yeah, Ben brings up a good point. You could see Cobra being a VSU. I feel like that would be the perfect VSU.
That would, and it would sell well.
It would sell out like crazy.
I tell you, people like this movie. People of this movie. You've either never heard of it, and then you're gonna find people. You're like, oh, I've never heard of this, but you love it, kind of thing. There are a lot of people like this. Then I feel like he would have liked it if he watched it when he was younger. Yeah. Now I feel like he'll be in the same boat as you.
Well, he's going to be on the podcast next week. We are going to talk Petite Maman from Criterion Collection. Totally different vibe from Cobra for sure. But maybe he'll see it within a week and I can talk with him next week about it to see if he's seen it or not.
Yeah. Watch it. Next episode is gonna be another Cobra. It'll be Cobra
Part 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, Cody. Is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
So I was supposed to be doing a 90s month this month on my channel, but I had some personal things going on to where I just couldn't start it. So next month I'm going to do all 90s related material on my channel.
Nice.
And yeah, so come over and have some fun.
Yeah. You just passed over 1,000 followers on YouTube too. So congratulations, man. I love it when you pop up as a guest on somebody's live stream, because you just kind of, you just seem like a great dude to hang out with, I
appreciate that.
You're one of the good ones.
I appreciate that.
I'm like the life of the party, man. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. This has been episode number 37 of Boutique Talk. And until next time, I'll see you.